Good evening, ma'am. My name is Shimra and I am here to do my presentation for my CA1 and I selected the second question as my topic. Here is the topic. Do a contrastive analysis on the role of nature in the two poems. Shall I compare thee to A Summer's Day by William Shakespeare and A Fisherman Mourned by His Wife by Patrick Fernando? In the contents, I include functions of nature, life and death, tone, and at last conclusion. If we see the functions of nature, in the poem Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, the William Shakespeare uses the summer's day as a metaphor for beauty, warmth and life. And he uses the imperfections of the summer's day to highlight the superiority of the beloved one, and he shows the eternal love. And he believes that the attitude of the beloved one is more lovely than summer. On the other hand, if we see the fisherman mourned by his wife, Fernando uses the sea as a symbol of nature and show how nature is harsh, indifferent and even fatal. He believes that the nature disrupts the relationship between the husband and wife and later it became a barrier and threat. The sea which has sustained the fisherman's livelihood also becomes the instrument of separation and loss. If we see the life and death, in the poem, Shakespeare assures the morality of the beloved's beauty and he shows that the nature fades but art preserves the beauty eternally. The poet mentions that the life of the beauty of the beloved one will live through his sonnet whether he dies or lives. In the other hand, Fernando mentions that the nature is powerful and unchanging and fisherman dies because of the sea. He says that sea is always the sea. It is never changed. And he shows that the human life is fragile and temporary. It is because in every part of the life, the wife is getting worried. If we see the tone, in the poem Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day, Shakespeare uses the romantic, affectionate and optimistic as the tone in the poem. In the poem Fisherman Mourned by His Wife, Fernando uses the sorrowful as a tone and nature, particularly the sea, frames the life and death of a fisherman and reflect the emotional grief and loss of the speaker. Here in this poem, wife is always worried. When she was getting married, she was worried about mutual relationship. When she was getting pregnant, she was worried about the income and at last she was worried because her husband was died. And turning to my conclusion, in my conclusion, Shakespeare and Fernando both engaged nature as a powerful tool but in different perspectives. Shakespeare's nature is a measuring tool for beauty and used to prize and grant immortality to the beloved one. And he shows the poetic beauty of the nature and he shows how the nature is beautiful. And on the other hand, Fernando's nature is a restless force, highlighting the emotional cost of survival and death, and he shows how dangerous the nature is. And here I added a reference page, and thank you for listening and time and attention. Thank you so much.